Welcome back to Conversations on the Bench. Hard as the bench may be, but it's Conversations on the Bench. And so we've got a really, really special guest right now. And, I'm excited to welcome the next individual who's going to have a really authentic, transparent, and frank conversation with me right here on the bench. Sara VanSlambrook. Right, Sara, welcome.
Yep, thank you.
We're so excited to have you. And Sara is the Chief Impact Officer for United Way of Central Indiana. And Sara has been doing this work in our community, not only with United Way, but various other nonprofit organizations for decades. Sara is an expert. She's someone that we look to for guidance, so wise counsel on a myriad of issues. But Sara, welcome. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your work that you do there, United Way of Central Indiana, and also tell them about the work you do with the Blueprint Council.
Okay,
right?
Sure.
The new chairman, right?
Right. So Sara VanSlambrook, I have worked at United Way for the last 9 years. Impact work is it's in the title, but it also tells you a lot and nothing kind of at the same time, right? Yeah. So to get a better sense of it, our impact work includes grants. We invest in a lot of different community organizations to help them do good work that they do. We also have research and data that we do. We have a number of different programs that we coordinate and out of our organization. We have a public policy team that does a lot of work focused on the State House to be able to bring the voice of community that gets unspoken oftentimes in those hallways. So doing a lot of that and like to do a lot of convening to bring people together and talk about hard problems in our community. Yeah.
As you can see, folks, she's got a really, really big job, an important job here in our community. What about the Blueprint Council? Tell me a little bit about that work and how it coordinates a lot of the services we have here in Indianapolis.
Absolutely. So the Blueprint Council is the governing council for the continuum of care here in Indianapolis, and the continuum of care, which is an entity required by HUD, but also has really turned into a great convening of like-minded partners, those who have similar missions to one another, trying to support individuals who are experiencing homelessness, experiencing hardship here in our community. So United Way has been involved in that work in different ways for a long time in investing in diversion before people experience homelessness. So rental assistance, utility assistance. We also have been a longtime partner of CHIP, the Coalition for Homeless Intervention and Prevention, which originally started as a United Way initiative and then went off on its own. Yeah. So United Way has had those ties for a long time. We have, through my role, been engaged in lots of different conversations. And a few years back, the Blueprint Council was going through some self-reflection on what it wanted to look like and be moving forward. And just last year, put some new policies and procedures in place. And we're looking for some new folks to step into leadership. And so, yes, as you mentioned.
So you raised your hand. I'll do it. Put me in, coach.
Right. There was encouragement to be a part of the leadership there, and so anyway, I am.
Just one more thing on your plate, right?
I'm lucky to be.
And it's volunteer. She doesn't get paid for it, folks, right?
I'm lucky to be in a place where I get to work with a lot of really good people in our community, and the Blueprint Council is one of those experiences. There's a lot of really committed, dedicated people who are, again, volunteering their time to be a part of leadership to really try to solve some hard issues that you see every day here at Wheeler.
Each and every day. I get a report, as a president, I get a daily report, and we saw a little over 700 men, women, and children last night, Sara. It's not even cold yet.
That's right.
And when it gets cold, those numbers are going to increase, as you well know, with winter contingency coming up. Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit, you told me, the resume, right? Kind of all the resume stuff. And so the purpose of the conversations is authentic, transparent and honest conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we believe in relationships. We're a big believer here at Wheeler in relationships, and we're informed by that worldview, by our faith, right? And so, tell me about Sara and how Sara got relationships. Really informs the work that we do every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's extremely important because it's just it's a part of who we are. We don't separate who we are and the relationships we have with the work that we do officially and work for the community. And so walk us through a little bit of that and tell us how you got to be where you are, and what have been some of the seminal moments, if you will.
Yep.
If you can pick out some times in your life or your career that's really led you to be where you are. I know what happened to me. I'm the most unlikely CEO of a rescue mission in the country, but there's certain things in my life that led me and compelled me to be here. What about you?
Yeah. So when I was very little, before I went to grade school, before I started first grade, my mom, my parents were foster parents.
Oh, nice.
And we had young kids that I was the youngest, so we had young kids that were younger than me that were staying with us.
You stayed with you, right?
That's right. And that is something that has really stuck with me. Just that we were all here for each other, and that we, that for my parents and for our family, that opening our home and being able to provide the love and care of family when someone else needed it. It was, they always moved on to be either reunited with their families or move to adoption. But in that moment, we got to be family.
Yeah, you invested in those relationships.
Yep. And so family has always been something that's really important to me. You mentioned that I have children. So
sure.
I have 4 kids with my husband, Greg, and
4.
Uh-huh.
I stopped at 2. Yeah. 2 was enough.
Yes. So yes, our oldest is a freshman in college, and then we have 3 girls, and they are my why for every day.
Okay.
But it certainly goes back to those roots of the example that my mom and my dad
sure.
Made for me,
sure.
and it's always been something that. Being a part of community, opening our family, being a part of community as family has been something that's been a why for me for a long time. When I was when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up, right? Yeah. I looked into and engaged in a lot of different volunteer service to think about what that might look like, and engaged in did some work with individuals experiencing homelessness in that, in that exploration. Also with Easter Seals, doing, work with individuals with disabilities. And a lot of other organizations, and really was driven by the why of each of those places, in the ways that they're able to connect with real people, build relationships, as you said, and become, build a better community. For me, what I started to find as I was entering career time was that what my head was good at was the strategy, the budgets, the numbers, the more business side of the work. And I even thought about at one point, switching over and going into for-profit business. But went on a few interviews and really just could not give a good why. Why did I want to work for that company? Because that wasn't my why. And so was able to come back and really be reconnected with nonprofit work. And so that's what I've done my whole career, is work with nonprofits of different sorts, trying to build a stronger and better community. At United Way, we say that we're about helping people live the lives they're capable of living, really to be their best selves, and to remove barriers, to increase opportunities, and for me, it's about being that family in that moment where people need us. So,
We're certainly glad you found your why, right? And this community's benefited from the work that you do, And your husband, is he a school teacher? If I remember
He's a high
correctly?
school principal.
High school
Yes.
principal,
Yes.
yeah. So he was probably a teacher before he was a
He
principal.
yes, and he does still teach actually one
Does he?
class. Yeah.
Does he?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the work, I mean, your entire family is just showing that it's pouring back into the community in various ways. And so I've got a question for you.
Sure.
So, I've been asking people a lot lately is kind of like, if you were queen for a day, if you had unlimited resources, you could wave this huge magic wand, as specifically as it relates to homelessness. What are some of the things that you would tackle first or do? And I asked Andrew Merkley the same question. And he was thinking very big and bold. And I want to pose it to you, and someone who's still in the trenches in this work. You got a unique perspective. You're in the trenches, but you're also at the high level, right?
Right.
With United Way at the impact level, and so you can see both sides. And so, what is it that you would do, and how do you think Wheeler could possibly play a role, in helping make that that magic wand reality? Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, it's okay. So I'd say first and foremost, if money was no object, it would be having more affordable housing that stayed affordable. Because
ding 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 ding. That's what everybody's saying, right?
Yep. And it's what, when you talk to people in our community who are struggling in some way or another to make ends meet for their families, for themselves, it's the top three. So more affordable housing, but it has to be connected to services for people who need it. And so I would also invest in more case management, more peer supports for people who, particularly those who have experienced homelessness or are in the midst of experiencing homelessness. There's a lot of trauma that goes alongside that, and so people need supports, right? We didn't get to where we are without having neighbors, friends, family to be able to connect and support us in our hardest times. And unfortunately, some of our neighbors who are experiencing homelessness might not have that friend, neighbor, family to be able to lift them up and need us to be their family in that moment. So
I mean, you're so right. It's a safe, affordable housing with services that are going to make the individual self-sustaining. Our mission is to see every man, woman, and child we serve equipped, the key word, to be productive citizens and enjoy lasting success. And we also say through Jesus Christ, right? And so, but all those words, equipped and productive and lasting success, that is all part of this whole life transformation thing. We think housing is a big part of it. And I've asked a question to several people, the magic wand question, and several people have said, mental health services, and so, I guess if somebody were to ask me that question, I would combine both safe, affordable housing with wraparound services for self-sufficiency, and I would invest really heavily, in mental health, counseling and services. There's just not enough of in our community, and it's just so few people who are certified mental health counselors, right? And when we because they go through so much, and that's what you want. You want certified mental health counselors to go through, an extensive training period and have a lot of experience, because you're dealing with something pretty important, a person's mental health.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think if it were me, I could combine, safe, affordable housing with wraparound services for self-sustainability and resources so that we can ensure that every single person who needs mental health services receives them.
Yeah. I would add to that too. I think of mental health services as part of that wraparound that individuals need, but we need to be able to, as a community, as a society, to be able to pay those individuals that are providing the mental health services, that are providing the case management, that are doing this essential work. But we need to be able to pay them so they can support their own families in the midst of this, and that's not always the case.
Yeah, I think last I heard, we have one certified mental health counselor on staff at Wheeler, and they're so rare and they're so expensive, right? Organizations like mine, very rarely can afford, but so we have great partners in this community who do a great job at that. I had Christine over there in adult and child.
Oh, good.
And the medical work that they do, and she's a psychiatrist, right? Psychiatrist. I think it's a psychiatrist, but just organizations like that, we couldn't do without in this community. So, one of the things that I've seen, I've only been doing this work with the Wheeler for about going on 5 years, but at the CEOC 2.5 years. And quite frankly, it's taken me that long to get my wings and to really understand the landscape here. And I'm often asked about the long-term vision for Wheeler, and are we sustainable? I was just talking to the funder recently. We all know who the funder is, and they asked me the question about sustainability, right? Everybody needs to be sustainable, even in the midst of the sea of changing, funding,
Absolutely.
changing priorities, on the national scene, and all those changing, shifting priorities. Do we think we have been sustainable? Can be sustainable? And I answered that question. I said the old Wheeler, yes. If we were where we were, about 5 or 10 years ago, with mainly focused on emergency shelter servicing, and not saying we're doing programmatic work, but not really having the bandwidth or the resources to do it because so much was plowing into not only winter contingency, but also just our own ESS services, on a daily basis. And I answered a question that said, yes, for the old Wheeler, but for the next 5 or 10 years, we're not self-sustaining, for the new Wheeler. And so that's going to include things like we just talked about, the magic wand question. And so, I'm looking forward, and I'm excited about the future of what we're doing here in town. Somebody asked me to give them one word.
Okay.
How would I sum it up? And I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. Sarah, we've got a tremendous community, and they're coming together, and they have been, but I see a greater level of collaboration, than, in my 4 or 5 years here at Wheeler. And I'm just so excited, hopeful about all of that. Just no telling where the possibilities are going to end. We got a lot of smart, dedicated, committed people, laser focused on
Absolutely.
these issues. And so, the famous phrase, Margaret Mead's quote, never doubt that a small group of committed people can change the world. And in fact, it's the only thing that ever has.
That's right.
And so I think we got that small group of committed. It doesn't have to be a large group, but committed. I think we're all committed to solving systemic and chronic barriers to homelessness and all those other issues that go into, making an individual experience homelessness in their lifetime.
Right.
So, is there anything else any other piece of advice? I'm asking sage advice for people who've been in the community and been, really key players for a long time. Is there anything else that we should be doing, here at Wheeler Mission? Me personally, and I didn't know you really before, we started working together.
Right.
And I do consider you a friend now. And so anytime that you need me and you need any services or anything I can do for you in United Way, or even, you work at the Blueprint Council, just don't hesitate to call or email me or whatever. You got an open door for me.
Appreciate that.
What else could we in Wheeler be doing?
Yeah. Well, I think you touched on the connectedness, that it doesn't take much, but it does take a group of committed people. And I think, the more that we can be doing in collaboration as a community, we have a lot. I mean, we're lucky that we have more than a small group. We have a lot of people who are really committed to figuring out this problem of what creates the funnel, right, of so many individuals that find themselves experiencing homelessness in our community. And so part of it is being able to help those that are experiencing it right now, but we've got to also look upstream and figure out what are the systemic factors that are making that happen to begin with.
You got to scratch below the surface.
Absolutely.
If you're going to do surface work, you're not doing anybody good. You're wasting resources and people's time. But I see a willingness and a commitment to do the hard work, to dig below the surface, roll up our sleeves, if you will, metaphorically, and get the job done. You know, how long is it going to take? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to take a while. Nothing good is ever achieved overnight, but I am convinced and hopeful that we can help, you know, figure this out, bring the resources to bear, and make a real dent in some of those things that are plaguing our community. And so, Sara, thank you so much. I appreciate it. So what's the rest of your day look like? It's a Friday. It's a beautiful day, October day in Central Indiana.
It is, yes. Well, I have a few more meetings, and then.
So you're going to work?
Well, yes, a few more meetings for work, but I am taking part of the afternoon
Good
off
for you.
because my 16-year-old, as part of a birthday present, I'm taking her to a concert in Chicago. So,
oh, nice.
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
wow.
yes.
Oh, wow. That's going to be a great road trip.
It will,
right?
yeah.
It's going to be good weather, too. So, Sara, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Thanks for
Good to
taking
see
the
you.
time
Absolutely.
to have honest conversations on the bench with me.
Yep.
Okay.
Enjoyed.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sara.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Hey, guys, that was Sara VanSlambrook, you know, good friend of the ministry and an expert here in Central Indiana on not only homelessness, but all the things in her work that she gets to touch as Chief Impact Officer for the United Way of Central Indiana. So we're going to take another break, and, you know, we're going to come back with some more conversations on the bench. I think you're going to want to stick around.